Hello guys, gagawa lang tayo ng reactions sa mga videos na matagal ko na namang alam. So, naisipan ko lang siyang i-clip kasi nakaka-proud lang bilang isang Pilipino na nandun yung ugali natin mga Pilipino, ang pagiging matulungin, na hindi tayo tumitingin sa kulay ng balat, estado sa buhay, kung saan ka nanggaling, kung mayaman ka o mahirap, babae o lalaki, matanda bata, bakla tomboy. Nandun man sa atin kadalasan o karamihan ang manghusga, pero nandun pa rin yung pagiging mabuting puso natin sa ibang tao. O mostly naman talaga ganun kahit dito. Madalas dito sa Israel, mga bata kung makapanghusga, walang pakundangan. Pero ang mga bata sa atin, isang salita mo, madali silang sabihan. May takot pa rin sila sa magulang. Pero alam niyo yung magbibigay ng lesson dito sa video na ipapakita ko ay isang kaalaman na dapat nating hindi makalimutan. Nakakatuwa lang kasi marami sa atin na hindi alam ang history about Korean and Philippines and Israel Philippines, also Ukraine Philippines, Japan Philippines and Spanish Philippines. Pero ito ipakikita natin isang videos na nagpapatunay na kung gaano kabuti ang Pilipino sa larangan ng pagtulong at pakikipagkapwa-tao. What's this? We are Filipinos, and we are willing to make sacrifices to help others regardless of the skin colors, status in life, or ethnicity. And I have some videos showing the time of Hitler and the Jews who survived and went to the Philippines. Take a look at this.
It is a little-known piece of history, a side story on how a young nation halfway around the world saved thousands of lives deemed lost during the dark days of the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. It is for this reason that it is a story worth telling, a story that also deserves a film like Schindler's List.
When it became clear that the number of Jews saved was similar to the number of Jews saved in Schindler's List that had already come out as a film, the family felt that this rescue effort deserved a film as well.
Titled Rescue in the Philippines, Refuge from the Holocaust, the one-hour documentary tells the story of how a family of tobacco makers, former President Manuel Quezon, U.S. High Commissioner to the Philippines Paul McNutt, and then Army Colonel Dwight Eisenhower put their neck on the line to bring Jewish refugees to the Philippines. While many countries closed their doors on Jews who were persecuted by the Nazis, the Philippines became one of the few places they were able to escape to.
At a time when almost every other nation in the world was turning away people who were in dire need, they opened up their arms. They took a step forward. They embraced people from halfway around the world. And the Filipino people and their president were nothing short of heroic in doing it.
The film was created using archival material and interviews of the survivors and descendants of those involved in the rescue. It was first screened in the United States last year and has since been shown 2,000 times on American television.
That Quezon was willing to accept the Jews when so many other countries did not, and the Frieders were willing to sacrifice some of the business interests to take time and give money to this effort. A story of moral courage, religious tolerance, and the benefits of being a concerned citizen. And that message is as relevant today.
Is the message of moral courage and the example of President Quezon, the Frieder brothers, Eisenhower, McNutt, that where they got together and instead of being apathetic and turning away and not doing anything, they decided to take action and do the right thing.
And we feel very much that the Philippines have much to be proud of here, and it's something that hopefully will inspire Filipinos and people around the world to act in a positive way.
And most of the time, the doors from other countries were closed to the Jewish people, but the Philippines welcomed the Jewish survivor, and big thanks to the former president of that time, Manuel L. Quezon.
I'm standing at one of the most special monuments in Israel that tells the story of how the Philippines saved over 1,000 Jews. During the Holocaust, Jews fled Europe, trying to save their lives from Nazi extermination and find a country that would accept them. In 1939, the Philippines opened its doors for Jewish families who were escaping Europe. Philippine President Manuel Quezon ordered to issue 10,000 visas for Jewish refugees, hoping that he will be able to rescue a large number of Jews. In the end, some 1,200 Jewish men, women, and children were saved.
The Filipino people are a very warm people. They're a very friendly people.
Most of the Jewish refugees in Manila eventually moved to Israel after the war. This monument was built in order to honor the Philippine nation and its president. The Jewish people will never forget how the Philippines was willing to open its doors and save us during the Holocaust. We are forever thankful.
And so aside from the Jews who survived and went to the Philippines, I have also some videos showcase the help provided by the Filipino soldiers who voluntarily went to South Korea during the war. It's great to know that these stories of kindness and bravery.
Proudly presents The Battle of Yultong, a story of how Filipino troops braved a sea of Chinese soldiers during the Korean War. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, when North Korea, backed by China and the Soviet Union, crossed the border into South Korea in an attempt to capture its capital, Seoul. In response, the United Nations Security Council, through the formation of the United Nations Command, ordered the deployment of military forces to stop the invasion. On August 7, 1950, President Elpidio Quirino, with approval from Congress, sent 7,420 Filipino combat troops to fight in South Korea. President Quirino saw this as a commitment to help a friend and as part of a larger battle to save the world from communism. The 10th Battalion Combat Team of the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea was the first battalion to arrive on Busan shores on September 19, 1950. The 10th Battalion, made up of 1,303 enlisted men and 64 officers, was originally a motorized battalion sent to operate tanks from the U.S., but when none arrived, was turned into a heavy weaponry unit instead. On the night of April 22, the 10th Battalion, as part of the U.S. 65th Infantry Regiment of the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division, was attacked north of Yeoncheon by a large force of Chinese and North Korean soldiers. This would be known in history as the Great Spring Offensive, one of the largest offensives by the 44th Division of the Chinese People's Volunteer Army and the Communist North Korean Army during the Korean War. In front of the Filipinos were 4 Chinese divisions numbering about 40,000 men. Just after midnight, the Chinese began their attack with a heavy artillery barrage. Soon after, the Chinese forces advanced, but had difficulty as the 10th Battalion successfully defended their positions with mortar and artillery. However, a massive Chinese assault pushed the Turkish brigade from their position, allowing the Chinese to surround the Filipinos' eastern side. Seeing the incoming danger, Lieutenant Colonel Junicio Ojeda immediately organized a unit of battalion cooks and clerks to fortify and defend the east flank. With the help of M24 light tanks and artillery support, Lieutenant Colonel Ojeda's makeshift unit was able to hold off the advancing Chinese forces. The situation only got worse when the Puerto Rican 65th Infantry Regiment, situated on the west flank, began to fall back from Chinese attack. With the west flank now exposed, the Chinese began advancing but were blocked by a platoon of Filipino soldiers situated on a hill overlooking Yultong. Commanded by Lieutenant Jose Arciaga, this platoon refused to yield and held their ground. This gave Lieutenant Arciaga's company commander, Captain Conrado Yap, enough time to mount a counterattack. The counterattack successfully extracted the trapped platoon from the hill and also stopped the Chinese from further advancing. But sadly, Lieutenant Arciaga and Captain Yap were killed during the fight. In the early morning of April 23, Lieutenant Colonel Ojeda led the second counterattack using M24 tanks. This caught the Chinese off guard and pushed them away from the hill they were trying to seize. The Filipinos fought until midday before it was ordered to withdraw and link up with the rest of the division in the south. 15 Filipino soldiers died. 26 were wounded. and 14 were missing in action, while the Chinese and North Koreans lost around 500 soldiers. The 10th Battalion's effort at Yultong allowed the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division to successfully withdraw from the battlefield, which would later on prove to turn the war in favor of the Allies. 2 weeks later, the Communists began ceasefire negotiations after suffering more heavy losses. For the next 2 years, the Korean War was mostly battled from hilltops until a ceasefire was finally declared. Out of the 7,420 Filipino soldiers sent, 113 were killed, 313 wounded, 15 missing, and 41 held as prisoners of war. Today, a monument stands inside the War Memorial of Korea in honor of the many Filipino soldiers who fought for the liberation of Korea. Recently, during the 69th anniversary of the Korean War, the late Captain Conrado Yap was awarded the Taeguk Medal, the highest military decoration given to a soldier for bravery in combat. Also awarded the Taeguk Medal was fellow 10th Battalion team member Major Maximo Young for his heroism at the Battle of Myeongdong. The efforts of the 10th Battalion in the Battle of Yultong was instrumental in turning the tide of the war in favor of the Allied forces. South Korea remains a free democracy, thanks to the contribution of soldiers like the Fighting Filipinos, a name given by the U.S. Command to the brave men of the 10th Battalion Combat Team.
And I think many of us are not aware of the story behind Korea, South Korea, and Philippines, and how they became friendly nations. This is important because having knowledge of the history and culture of other countries help us to have a broader understanding and appreciation of the people and cultures of other nations. And I can say being a Filipino is amazing. I can say that. Being a Filipino is amazing. So we are foreigners here outside the Philippines. I am living here in Israel. So let's keep being good people to others and be an example to everyone that we have a good heart and spread love and don't look what the skin color or the status in life or where they came from, right? So be kind to one another.